In the underbelly of New York City, where the golden glow of Broadway never reached and the subway rats outnumbered kindness, lived a man named Marlowe Reyes. He wasn't always homeless. Once, he was a skilled auto mechanic with a steady hand and a good heart. But life, as it sometimes does, played its cruelest tricks. His daughter, Annalise, just 6, had died of leukemia 5 years ago. She was his only family. The hospital bills had eaten up his savings, his apartment, and eventually, his will to live. Now, Marlowe spent his days near the Williamsburg Bridge, pushing a rusty shopping cart filled with soda cans, worn blankets, and a photograph of Annalise smiling in a yellow sundress. He talked to no one unless they were kind, which was rare. Most people looked through him as if he were a stain on the concrete. Invisible. That Monday evening was colder than usual, and the bitter wind cut through his coat like knives. He huddled beneath the bridge with a stale bagel when a sudden sound broke his routine soft crying. He turned. There, not 20 feet from his makeshift bed, stood a girl. She couldn't have been older than 10, wearing thin pajamas and no shoes. Her nose was red, her cheeks blotchy, and her long hair was tangled. She looked utterly lost. "Hey," Marlowe said gently, cautious not to scare her. "You okay, sweetheart?" The girl backed away, trembling. "I'm not gonna hurt you," he said again. "You cold?" She nodded. Her lips quivered. Marlowe did something he hadn't done in months. He stood and approached someone not to beg, but to give. He shrugged off his coat, his only real defense against the cold, and wrapped it around the girl. She flinched at first, then froze, then leaned in. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Leela," she whispered. "Where's your mama?" "She told me to wait in the car, but then she never came back." Marlowe's heart broke like shattered glass. The girl reminded him of Annalise. Same voice, same wide, frightened eyes. "Well, Leela, you're safe now. You hungry?" She nodded again. He split his stale bagel in half and handed her the bigger piece. She took it with shaking fingers and ate silently, tears still falling. Above them, watching from the edge of the bridge in a sleek black Escalade, sat a man named Victor Langston, billionaire real estate mogul and media tycoon. He had just left a high-powered gala where champagne flowed like water and egos clashed like titans. His driver had pulled over briefly so Victor could make a private call, but Victor saw the scene below through tinted windows, the homeless man giving the coat off his back and his food to a child. And for the first time in a decade, Victor felt something. He stayed silently watching. Leela fell asleep curled in Marlowe's coat, tucked against his side beneath the bridge. Marlowe kept one eye open, listening for rats or worse, other homeless folks who might take advantage. But none came. Perhaps something unseen was watching over them that night. At dawn, Marlowe rose quietly, bones aching, and crept to the corner bodega that sometimes gave away day-old bread. The owner, Mr. Patel, frowned at him. "Only one bag today," he said, handing Marlowe a small paper sack. "Got it," Marlowe said. "Bless you." He returned to the bridge with a pair of apples, 2 rolls, and a small box of orange juice. Leela was still asleep. He sat beside her until she stirred. "Mornin', sunshine." She opened her eyes, confused, then slowly remembered. "You stayed." "Course I did. You were alone." "That's not right." She wolfed down the bread and juice. "Thanks, Mr. Marlowe?" He smiled. "Just Marlowe?" She gave a small smile back. It nearly crushed him. For a moment, he saw Annalise again, just for a flicker. Do you have school? He asked gently. She hesitated. We moved around a lot. My mom said school wasn't safe. But I liked reading. Marlowe nodded. I used to read to my little girl. She loved those fairy books, with dragons and heroes. Did she die? His breath hitched. Yeah, I'm sorry, Leela whispered, lowering her head. You got nothing to be sorry for. She looked up again. What do we do now? He took a long breath. We figure it out, together. In his penthouse overlooking Central Park, Victor Langston couldn't focus. His assistant, Marlene, was reading the day's calendar aloud. Board meetings, investor calls, a Forbes interview. But her words were a fog. He kept seeing that man giving his coat away in freezing weather. He couldn't shake it. You okay, sir? Marlene finally asked. Victor blinked. Do we still fund that downtown shelter? The Horizon one? We cut that last year, said it wasn't part of our brand direction. He closed his eyes. I want it back. Triple the funding. And I want an anonymous team down near Williamsburg. I want to know about a homeless man named Marlowe Reyes. Marlene stared, stunned. Yes, sir. Back under the bridge, Marlowe brought Leela with him to collect cans. They avoided trouble spots, stayed near parks and cleaner alleys. Every step drew looks, whispers, some kind, some cruel. In the afternoon, a lady on the sidewalk took one look at them and muttered, "Junkie dragging a child around." Marlowe flushed red but said nothing. Leela just held tighter to his hand. They found a small pile of kids' clothes at a church donation bin. A decent jacket and clean jeans. Marlowe turned his back while she changed in the alley. When she came out, she looked brighter. Much better, he smiled. Do I look like your daughter now? His heart ached. You look like someone who deserves more than the world gave her. That night, as they sat by a barrel fire with a few friendly strangers, Leela told a story about a lion that raised a baby bird after it fell from its nest. It couldn't fly, she said, so the lion carried it everywhere. They became a team. Marlowe nodded slowly. You're the bird, huh? No, she smiled. You are. From across the street, hidden in a black van, Victor's assistant snapped photos through a long lens. She radioed back, got him. He's not using. He's helping her. Like a dad. Victor sat in his office, staring at the city skyline. Tell me everything. 3 days passed. Marlowe and Leela fell into a rhythm. They made 67.5 in cans one day, 4.1 the next. Enough for bread, a warm soup from a generous street vendor named Omar, and 2 bus tokens. Just in case they ever needed to run. They weren't family by blood, but something deeper was forming. When it rained, Marlowe held an old tarp over her head and let himself get soaked. When Leela had nightmares, he hummed old lullabies until her shivers stopped. She drew with sidewalk chalk when they could find it. Once, she made a picture of a lion with big wings carrying a child into the sky. Lions can't fly, he told her. They can when no one else is strong enough. Marlowe smiled, but inside he felt the sting of failure. He couldn't give her what she deserved. No school, no warm bed, no real future. And worse, he was being watched. Victor's investigators had turned up everything: Marlowe's background, the death of Annalise, the unpaid medical bills, eviction notices, even a letter Marlowe had written to CPS offering to volunteer in exchange for food. Never mailed. Victor was a man used to breaking empires and crushing billion-dollar deals, But none of that prepared him for the quiet power of a man who had nothing yet, still gave everything. One night, Victor stood outside the bridge in a long coat and scarf. His driver protested, but Victor waved him off. He had to see it again. For himself. And he did. From the shadows, he saw Marlowe wrap Leela in a blanket and hum a soft tune. "Why are we still here, Mr. Marlowe?" Leela asked sleepily. "Because I'm not letting you go back to being forgotten." "What if no one ever comes for us?" Marlowe exhaled. "Then we make our own kind of family, baby girl." Victor turned away, eyes glassy. He thought of his own daughter, Grace, estranged for years, after he had chosen business over ballot recitals, mergers over movie nights. He had money, power, but watching Marlowe he saw what he lacked: soul. The next morning, two men in suits approached Marlowe and Leela near the soup truck. They smiled too wide. "Mr. Reyes," one said. "You've been selected for a city outreach program. Shelter, food, child support." Marlowe narrowed his eyes. "City doesn't have programs like that anymore. Budget cuts. Well, this is privately funded. By an anonymous donor." He glanced at Leela, who clutched his sleeve. "You want to split us up?" "No, sir. We'll keep her with you. We can even start her in school." Marlowe blinked. Something didn't feel right, but he was tired of letting pride get in the way of safety. "You got a card?" The man hesitated. "We'll be back tomorrow. Think about it." They walked away. That night, Marlowe didn't sleep. The fire was out, and the wind had returned. Leela was warm in her bundle of rags and blankets, but Marlowe sat awake. What if they were telling the truth? What if this was Leela's chance? But what if they weren't? Victor sat in his office, watching a live video feed. His assistant had argued against it, but he needed to see what choice Marlowe would make on his own. Uncursed, unbribed. Would he trust the offer? Or keep fighting alone? Victor picked up the phone. "I want that girl safe, and I want Rise to know he's not invisible anymore." By morning, Marlowe had made a decision. He didn't trust men in suits. Too many bad experiences, too many broken promises. But Leela deserved a chance at a real life, even if it meant risking his heart again. They walked together to the same corner where the men had approached them. Cold wind bit at their skin, and Leela's cheeks were pink from the chill. "Are they gonna take me away?" she asked. Marlowe knelt beside her. "Not without me raising hell about it." She laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. They waited, but no one came. Not the suits, not the soup truck. The street was unusually quiet, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Then, around noon, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. Not the usual kind of black. This one shimmered like ink under moonlight. The door opened. A tall man stepped out, no coat despite the cold, gray hair, trimmed beard, sharp eyes softened by uncertainty. Victor Langston. Marlowe stood instinctively in front of Leela. "You lost?" he asked. "No," Victor said gently. "I've found something." He looked at Leela, then back at Marlowe. "My name's Victor Langston. I run Langston Holdings." Marlowe squinted. "That's supposed to impress me." "No," Victor said, honestly. "I'm not here for that." He took a slow step forward. "I saw you give her your coat. That night. In the cold." Marlowe said nothing. "I've built skyscrapers, bought nations, fired 1,000 men without blinking." Victor continued. "But I've never given someone everything when I had nothing." "Look," Marlowe said, holding Leela close. "If this is a setup, it's not. Victor reached into his pocket and pulled out a small photo. A ballerina mid-spin. Grace, age 7. My daughter stopped talking to me 6 years ago. I missed every recital, every birthday. I thought money fixed everything. I was wrong. His voice cracked. Marlowe's grip loosened. So what do you want from us? Nothing? Victor whispered. I want to help. No conditions. I bought a shelter, a real one. It's warm, safe, private. For you and her. Marlowe looked at Leela, her eyes wide with hope. You don't owe me, Victor added. But you changed me. I want to do right, for once. The shelter was like nothing Marlowe had seen before. Spotless beds, warm food, nurses' books, showers with working hot water. Leela squealed when she saw a bookshelf taller than her. I get to pick any of these. As many as you want. The volunteer smiled. Victor didn't stay. He left quietly after making sure Marlowe had his number. Weeks passed. Marlowe cleaned floors at the shelter, then helped fix pipes. The manager offered him a job as night watch. Leela started school and came home every day with stories about math and poems and a girl named Tasha who gave her a bracelet. They were safe. But then, one rainy evening, a knock came on the shelter door. A woman stood there, soaked, shaking, her eyes sunken with guilt. It was Leela's mother. Marlowe froze. She barely looked like the woman in Leela's blurry memory. Her arms were thin, her nails bitten, and she wouldn't meet Marlowe's eyes. I heard she was here, she mumbled. I didn't abandon her. I was sick. I've been trying to get clean. Marlowe didn't know what to say. Part of him burned with anger, the other with pity. Leela peeked from behind a corner. When she saw her mother, she didn't scream or run. She walked forward slowly. The woman fell to her knees. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Leela reached out and placed the bracelet, her most precious gift, into her mother's hand. I forgive you. And that was it. The moment cracked something open in everyone watching. Victor read the report that night. He sat alone in his massive apartment. The lights low. He called his daughter Grace for the first time in years. I want to see you, he told her, voice trembling. No business. No expectations. Just your dad. On the other end, silence. Then a quiet, okay? Spring arrived with birdsong and laughter. The trees around the shelter bloomed in a pale gold light, and for the first time in years, Marlowe felt the season change inside him too. He had been promoted to assistant coordinator at the shelter. His hands, once used only to carry scrap and shield a child, now repaired beds, signed invoices, and sometimes, when no one was looking, sketched little lions on the whiteboards for the kids to color in. Leela was thriving. She read books faster than the volunteers could stock them. She had a routine, friends, a room of her own. Sometimes, Marlowe would find her curled in the window at night, looking out into the city. I still think about the bridge, she said once. He sat beside her. Me too. I used to think someone was gonna come save us. He smiled. Someone did. You, she asked. No, you saved me. Her mother, Sarah, kept her promise, checked into rehab, attended every family meeting, worked 2 jobs. It was far from perfect. Trust didn't come easy. But she showed up, and Marlowe, reluctantly at first, then fully made space for her. They formed a strange little family, damaged but healing. And one May afternoon, the unexpected happened. Victor returned. Not in his usual suit or flanked by assistants, just him in jeans and a sweater, holding a bouquet of wildflowers. For you, he said to Leela. I heard you like daisies. She beamed. Victor turned to Marlowe. I want to name the new youth center after her, and hire you to run it. Marlowe blinked. What? Victor handed him a folder. Inside were architectural drafts, funding details, and a logo. The Paper Wings Youth Center. I've had this dream of a place that teaches resilience, that honors small acts with big echoes, and I can't think of anyone better to lead it. Marlowe's throat tightened. I'm not some suit. Victor smiled. Exactly. The opening ceremony was quiet by design. Victor stood at the back. Marlowe gave a short, stammering speech. Leela cut the ribbon with a golden pair of scissors she insisted were way too fancy. The center became a haven. Kids from shelters, lost teens, runaways, refugees, all of them found a place there. And Marlowe, once invisible, became a pillar of the community. Victor started funding similar centers in other cities, each one named after something a child once said to him or wrote to him. One was called Second Chances. Another Lions Can Fly. He met with his daughter Grace every Sunday now. Sometimes they sat in silence. Sometimes they talked about everything they'd missed. She had forgiven him, not because he deserved it, but because she chose peace. Years passed. One winter evening, Marlowe returned to the bridge where it all began. He brought Leela, now a teenager with a scholarship letter in her hand. She stood where she once slept and looked up at the stars. I was afraid I'd always be small, she said. But you made me feel big. Marlowe swallowed the lump in his throat. And I thought I'd always be broken, he said. But you taught me how to heal. She smiled and handed him something, a folded piece of paper. He opened it. A drawing of a lion with paper wings, flying through the clouds. An editorial appeared in the national paper the following month. The Kinness We Almost Missed. By Victor Langston. I spent my life building towers that touched the sky, but I never looked at the people sleeping beneath them. I thought greatness was about conquering, until I saw a homeless man give everything for a child he didn't owe anything to. That moment changed me more than all the boardrooms I've ever stood in. We are measured not by our wealth, but by what we do when no one is watching. And sometimes, the smallest kindness can echo through generations. And so, from beneath a forgotten bridge, a story rose. A story of Paper Wings' redemption and the quiet kind of love that saves lives when no one else will.